CDH Films presents an animated storybook retold with Legos. The Battle of the Labyrinth. Book 4 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, from the original novel by Rick Riordan. Narrated to you by me, Chris. Monday morning, the first week of June. Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon, and his mom Sally Jackson stand in her car in front of Percy's school. The good high school. Actually, it wasn't even his current school just yet. The school year was already over, and this is where Percy would be going the following school year. Today, they were just arriving for the orientation. And of course, he probably wouldn't have gotten into this school if it weren't for Mom's current boyfriend, Paul Blofus, who worked there as the school's English teacher. And there he was, standing out in front of the entrance, greeting future ninth graders as they came up the steps. Despite the fact that Percy had gotten kicked out of every school he ever attended, Paul managed to convince the school to accept him. "Just think positive," Sally said. "Remember, you've got your date with Annabeth later." "It's not a date, Mom," Percy said. "We're just seeing a movie." Percy got out of the car, said goodbye, and his mom left. When he looked back, he saw Paul greeting a red-haired girl with paint-splattered pants. Oh, gods of Olympus, Percy really hoped that wasn't who he thought it was, but he didn't take the chance. He ran around to the side entrance, only to run into two cheerleaders in purple and white uniforms who were standing in the doorway, waiting to ambush freshmen. "Welcome to Good," the blonde girl said. "You are so gonna love it here." But as she looked him up and down, Percy could tell her expression said something more like, "Who is this loser?" The other girl stepped uncomfortably closer to him. He studied the stitching on her uniform and made out Kelly. She got so close to him, she looked like she was trying to make him fall over. "What's your name, freshman?" she asked. Percy. Now, can you excuse me, please?" The girls exchanged looks. Then Kelly said, "Oh, we've been waiting for you." That sent a major chill up Percy's spine. They were still blocking the entrance and smiling in a not very friendly sort of way. Then, as if on cue, Paul Blofus peeked outside the door. "There you are, Percy," he said. "I've been looking for you. Can you come with me, please?" The girls thankfully stood aside. Percy accidentally bumped his knee into Kelly's leg as he passed her. "Hey, watch it," she said. For some reason, Percy's leg felt like it bumped into a metal table, quite literally. But Kelly's leg looked like perfectly real skin tissue. Percy was too freaked out to ask questions, so he kept following Paul. He looked back, but the cheerleaders were gone. "You okay, Percy? You look like you've seen a ghost," Paul said. "Yeah, I know," Percy said. "Listen, I know you're nervous, but don't worry. We get a lot of kids here with ADHD and dyslexia. The teachers know how to help." Hearing that almost sounded good enough to laugh at. If only he'd known more about Percy's problems, more than just his ADHD and dyslexia. Percy figured if he learned the truth, he'd either think Percy was crazy, or he'd run away screaming. Being a child of a Greek god like Poseidon was easy to keep from mortals. But just trying to explain the problems that your ADHD causes you without trying to reveal the fact that it's really your godly-like reflexes can really drive you crazy. Percy looked back at the end of the hall to see if the cheerleaders would come back, but instead, he saw the red-haired girl. He saw her eyes widening. She noticed him. He thought he could lose her through the gym, where all the new students crammed in just waiting to be welcomed. But it didn't work, because after walking in a few feet, someone grabbed Percy's shoulder. It was his red-headed nightmare. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "Rachel Elizabeth Dare," Percy said. "And you're Percy Gotta Go," she replied. "Yeah, never really got that last name after you just ran off like that." "What are you doing here?" Percy asked. "Same as you, I hope, for the orientation." "You live in New York?" "What, you thought I lived at the Hoover Dam?" Well, this was quite the surprise, considering the fact that they had met for the first time at the Hoover Dam during the holidays. Percy would have never thought that someone he met from that far away would actually live in his hometown. Next to that, he just assumed he'd never see Rachel again. Boy, was he wrong. But the weird part about her was that she was able to see the monsters Percy had been chased by during that time. They only saw each other for a few minutes, and she managed to help him escape. "Hey, would you guys shut up?" a guy said behind them. "The cheerleaders are talking." The same cheerleaders from outside stood at their microphone. As they talked, Rachel just stared at them in horror. Then she looked at Percy and whispered, "Run!" Only then did he remember she could see through the mist, so she must have seen something seriously bad. Percy didn't ask and just followed her out of the gym. She led them into the band room and crouched behind a drum, as if hiding ever did anything. "Rachel, what did you see?" Percy asked. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you," she said. "I'm pretty sure I would," Percy said. "I know you can see through the mist." "The what?" "Well, it's like this magic that hides the way things really are. Some mortals are born with the ability to see through it, like you." She studied him carefully. "You did that at the Hoover Dam. You called me a mortal like you're not." Big whoops. What was he thinking? Should he have even tried to explain it all? "Tell me," she begged. "You know what it means, all these horrible things I see?" "Look, Rachel, this is going to sound weird. Do you know anything about Greek myths? Like the Minotaur and the Hydra?" "Yeah, just try not to say those names around me, okay? Anyway, all those things you hear about the Greek myths, they're real." "I knew it," she said. "You don't know how hard it's been for me. For years, I thought I was going crazy. I couldn't tell anybody." "So, what are you really?" she asked. "I mean, you look human, but you're not really, are you?" Even though he had 3 years to get used to what he was, he never talked about it with a regular mortal before, except for his mom, but she already knew since the day he was born. He didn't know why, but he took the plunge. "I'm a half-blood," he answered. "I'm half human, and the door slammed open. And right there, in the doorway, was Tammy and Kelly. Rachel's eyes went big. "What is it? What do they look like?" Percy asked her. But Rachel seemed too stunned to speak. "Oh, forget her," Tammy said. "How about a kiss?" Percy must have been lost in another world, because his jaw hung wide open and kept staring at Tammy. "Percy, no! Snap out of it!" Rachel warned. "She's trying to bite you! Can't you see it?" Percy must have snapped, because then he pulled out his pen, uncocked it, and magically turned it to his sword, Riptide. "Get back!" he demanded, while pointing the tip of their chest. "Freshmen," she said with disgust. "This is our school, half-blood, and we feed on whom we choose." They both began to change. The color drained from their skin until they turned as white as chalk. Their eyes were completely red. "Vampire!" Percy gasped. Then he noticed her legs. Below her skirt, her left leg was brown and shaggy with a donkey's hoof. Her right leg was shaped like a human's, but it was made of bronze. And her head was on fire. This must have been the weirdest and creepiest monsters next to the Furies and Medusa combined. "And of course that silly legend about vampires was based on us, you fool," Kelly said. "We are the Apusai, the servants of Hecate. Dark magic formed us from animals, bronze, and ghost. We exist to feed on the blood of young men," Tammy said. "Now how about that kiss?" She bared her fangs. Percy was so paralyzed he couldn't move. But then, Rachel threw a drum at Tammy's head. The demon hissed and threw the drum away. Rachel threw a guitar, but the demon made a perfect catch and threw it back. The guitar flew over their heads and crashed through the window.
I usually don't kill girls, Tammy growled, but now I'm thinking I'm starving.
No, you don't, Percy said, and he swung his sword and she exploded into dust.
Foolish boy, you don't even know what's about to come, do you? Kelly chuckled. Soon your pretty little camp will be up in flames. Your friends will be made into slaves to the Lord of Time, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Why don't you just choose to die now so you don't have to see that?
From down the hall, they could hear the loud footsteps rumbling closer. Well, they did break a window.
Excellent. We're about to have company,
Kelly hissed. She ran just outside the door and turned towards Percy like a cowering victim. Percy pointed his sword at her throat.
No, please, have mercy, she begged.
But Percy didn't fall for anything. He was about to jab his sword into her chest, but right before the blade could touch her skin, her body evaporated into a splash of fire. Percy never seen a monster do that before. "Percy, what have you done?" said a voice next to him. Only then did he notice that he had done all that right in front of Paul and some other students. Only then did he realize Kelly had tricked him into looking like a bad kid all over again. He knew other mortals couldn't see through the mist, and it would probably look like he had just attacked a helpless cheerleader in front of a group of witnesses. He couldn't think of anything else except to jump out through the window and run. Great. Now Percy would get expelled from yet another school, and this time before the school year was even close to starting. That had to be an unbreakable record. After only reaching the next block, he ran into Annabeth. "Careful, Seaweed Braid," she said, smiling. "You got out pretty early." For a split second, she sounded like she was in a good mood. Only then did he remember that they were going to catch a movie together. Then Rachel caught up to them. Annabeth's smile melted. Percy? Who is this?" she asked. "Annabeth Rachel, Rachel Annabeth," he said quickly. "You realize you're in a lot of trouble now, and you still owe me an explanation," Rachel told Percy. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Percy, we better go," said Annabeth. "Wait," Rachel said. "I want to know more about half-bloods and monsters and the stuff about the gods." She grabbed his arm, and with a marker, she wrote her phone number on his hand. "Now go on," she said. "I'll tell them it wasn't your fault, and please remember to call me." And she ran back toward the school. Annabeth gave him a look of disapproval. "Percy, you told a mortal about half-bloods?" "She can see through the mist," Percy explained, "and she saw the monsters even before I did." "So you just told her the truth?" "She kind of found out the hard way at the Hoover Dam last winter, and she sort of knew before I met her, so I thought..." "You've met before?" "Well, I didn't really think I'd see her again, but seriously, I barely know her." "She does look kind of cute," said Annabeth. "For a mortal."